This is an edited version of a live episode that we did for episode 69. There's a few audio troubles within it for some reason. I mean, we're new to this live streaming stuff, so I'm sorry about that. And I couldn't figure out how to turn the noises from Discord off. But it should, other than that, be quite a good episode. Sorry. Hello and welcome to this special live episode of 3TRPG Podcast. Live, Monday. This is a podcast all about tabletop RPGs, and with me is Nick Lamley.
I like pepperoni pizza.
And of course we've got James Clark here.
Hello.
Today's episode is a Discord live podcast where we'll be taking input from the listeners via text and voice chat. We encourage the listeners to jump into the voice chat anytime they feel they have something to say and to share their thoughts in the text chat. We're doing a special because it's episode 69, basically, because it's a funny number. Okay, if you are going to jump into the chat, I can see the problem already. Make sure you're not using your chainsaw or leaf blower or whatever that noise was. But anyway, before we get on with the show, let's talk about rad dudes, okay? Ace B, Julian Burnick, Ryan Wahab, and Jason Duncan all pledged $10 a month at the Dreadlord level on our Patreon and are part of our Dark Army. Head over to patreon.com/3TRPG podcast to join too. We have plenty of tiers for folks of all shapes and sizes.
Oh,
and guess what? Guess what, lads? We've got a fucking jam-packed show today, you wouldn't believe. So, we've got feedback, we've got news punch, what you saying, we've got the main subject, which this time is going to be player investment, and then a very special live electro letters, where we're going to talk about the weirdest players you and we have ever encountered. Shall we do this, boys?
Let's.
Well, maybe.
The feedback side. The feedback side. Yes, bitch, the feedback side. It's the feedback section. Yeah, we take your comments and read them out. Yeah, feedback, bitch.
So, the first feedback comes in from... Who said that this can only end well while the jingle was playing?
Who do you think? Mr. Lean, of course.
Mr. Lean.
Oh my god, he's probably already lean. He's probably drinking some lean, and he's had some weed and he's lean. But yes, first bit of... Shut the fuck up for 1 second, Christ. Do you think you're a host on this podcast, James?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, you are actually. I've just looked at my records. It turns out you are. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, the first feedback comes in from Hello Alex Roberts, who says, "Thank you so much for putting this up," talking about the episode we did about The Beast, an erotic game about having sex with the Beast. And he says, "The Beast is one of my favourite games and I wish it got more attention." I think we've discovered a good way to sort of figure out who the weirdos are in any internet community, right? Because this guy, he comes out and he just says The Beast is one of my favourite role-playing games. Shall we give his details over to the FBI now, or when he's eventually caught?
Oh, were we meant to like discuss that? I already did.
I just find it funny that somebody's being so open about being into The Beast. It wasn't that fucking good. It's one of his favourite games, above D&D, above Savage Worlds, above.
Well, we don't know what he's played. The other games that he's played. So
maybe he's only played The Beast, because then it wins by default.
It is the best game. Yeah.
I think the next feedback is actually one of the best ones we've had. This one comes in from Rocha Latricia. And she says, "Hi, looking for hookup with a stranger? Ready for any experiments? I'm completely naked. Want to see the photos? You want to see my boobs? My name is honeybaby2 on the site hotmail.icu.
Oh, yes!
It's a spam. It's a bot, James.
I got boner for nothing.
So, Owen Lean comes in and he says, "I've had a thought. Dangerous, I know, but I think you guys should do a bonus content on drugs." Now, it doesn't mean on drugs, he means about drugs. And he says, as in gaming under the influence. Not just cons, but also pros, like what drugs actually enhance the experience. What games work well on drugs. It's a subject that's crying out to be covered and nobody else will do it. I don't think we can just go around telling people to take drugs, can we? Can we?
I don't think so.
No, isn't it about... No, yeah, we can.
Can we? Okay.
Yeah.
James,
Vice.com do, mate.
What was that?
this is the kind of shit we have to put up with.
Vice.com do, I said.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you. Jesus Christ. What is he talking through? A potato?
He's talking for a fucking... yeah, he's talking to a Coca-Cola can.
Anyway, yes. Thank you for the suggestion, Owen. It probably is not going to happen because none of us do drugs. Wink. Just in case you're listening, FBI. No, we really don't. But I was thinking about, like, if we were to perhaps do legal highs, maybe drink a gallon of cough syrup, maybe huff some petrol.
Huff some petrol.
Yeah, that way we can't get in trouble because we're just advising people. Oh, I think, you know, well, what goes best with Lamentations of the Flame Princess is a nice unleaded. And
a gallon of petrol.
No,
There is something quite special about the smell of petrol, though. I used to love it as a kid when we used to like go to the petrol station.
As a
in
kid, yeah.
parents' car. Not like, you know, go out and procure petrol, but just
yeah, so all we need you to do then, Nick, is next episode we're gonna get you to just smell the smell that you already like. Just do a really big smell and a lot of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Theo Ruff, shut up. Theo Ruff, he says, great job on the Mork Borg review. After reading the book, I thought about writing you because I liked it so much and had a hunch you'd enjoy it too, but then got lazy. Ha, anyway, I'd like to know how it feels compared to old school essentials. Also, is it still worth to invest in old school essential books after running DCC, Lamentations and Mork Borg? Just like to hear your take. So, as the person that's GM'd all of these, except for Mork Borg, kind of the reason that I got old school essentials was because it was the only sort of OSR game, or the best presented OSR game, that doesn't have any gimmicks. It's just the straight up classic stuff, just re-explained and reorganised into a way that makes a lot more sense. I love DCC, but we've converted our D&D 5e game from, you know, D&D 5e into OSE, and it seems like a better fit. If suddenly we had people rolling on magic tables and blowing each other's heads off by accident, I feel like it wouldn't fit with our current campaign that we were playing, so that's kind of why I ordered it. DCC to me feels like it's best for gonzo stuff and for stuff that you don't mind getting a bit wacky and off the rails and things like this. Whereas Mork Borg, I think, is just the themes and story are built so into the book that it has to be used to play in that world, really. So that's kind of my answer. OSE is just my go-to fantasy system, like basic fantasy system, when I want something without gimmicks, when I want to insert my own gimmicks, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I like all of these games, and actually, the one I've sort of dropped off with quite a lot was Lamentations. As much as I like it, I hate the skill system. I fucking hate it. You have 1 or 2 dots on a dice, and you roll it, and you see which one. If you get like the 1 or 2, then you do the skill, right? And on the surface, it seems like it kind of makes sense, but it's just when in OSE, for example, you have that for certain skills, like find traps, and it means that if you get a bonus, it counts for a lot more because then you've got a 3 in 6 chance, etc., etc. But they did that for all the skills in Lamentations, and what ended up happening was that anybody that had skills, they were basically useless and they never succeeded at anything. And it kind of got a bit dull when it was like, okay, you don't succeed in anything, also it's really easy to die, and people are dying left, right, and centre, and it just kind of pissed me off. I don't know if I want to like play an RPG to be a useless idiot, because I'm one in real life.
yeah, exactly. Don't do it in your free time if you can do it all the time. Fair enough, yeah, mate.
But what do you guys think? I mean, James, you've played a bit of OSE now. How do you think it compares to DCC and Lamentations?
I think it's really sort of like dynamic in terms of like it's really easy to fit so much to it. Whereas I think, I mean, DCC's definitely got that as well. But it's got like a certain, you know, difference to it where it's kind of, I feel like it's a lot easier to cater for a lot more things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, the DCC, as much as I love it, one of the things I dislike about making material for it is like try coming up with a patron on the fly, for example, which can happen, or a spell. And it's got all of these abilities, all of these tables and things like this. Yeah, you could just rebrand another one, but it's not quite the same. If I pull out a wizard out of my arse who's attacking the party, and then I say he's got some magic item that does this, you know, I can just give the players that item in OSE. And DCC, all of the spells have a table and things like that, and that's why I think I prefer DCC when I'm playing it with just you two, which is a bit weird, but it cuts down on a lot of that bookkeeping and stuff like that.
So I suppose it's all everything has a nice place. It all depends what you fancy, really.
Exactly.
They're all good. That's the good thing. It's a nice place to be when you're spoilt for choice with good stuff.
Precisely, yeah. And to be fair, I think I like all of them equally, except for Lamentations, which I prefer the modules to the actual game. But that's basically it for feedback. So let's get on with some news, shall we? I realise this is the third time in a row I've not been ready with the jingle, so here we go. News punch. Morkborg has hidden content within its pages. See, I'm trying to read them like headlines. Do you see what I mean?
Like it. Yeah, I like that.
It's got a bit of style. So, what do I mean by this? A black light can be used to view extra details on the pages of Morkborg. I tried to see if anybody has done this and put it on YouTube, but nobody has just yet. So I've ordered a black light, and it's now a race. The first person that can get one to put the content out there. But yeah, so I've ordered a blacklight. I don't know what's in the pages. I just heard from someone in the biz that it has hidden content if you use a blacklight on it. And I'm pretty scared for what will happen if I start pointing that blacklight at places around my house.
Don't do it.
I know, it's just going to be depressing, isn't it?
I may have visited there recently without your knowledge.
Oh my God.
So how did that get on the ceiling? You know, it's like that type of thing. You ever seen people do it in like hotel rooms? It's fucked up.
Oh no, because I have.
It's just like you sometimes see it on programs where it's like, we're gonna go undercover and investigate this hotel, and they'll put a black light all over the place and like, this is semen, this is blood, this is piss, and it's everywhere. It's like so yeah. Next time you're in your comfy hotel room, don't bring a black light.
Just remember that,
and don't think about it either. Yeah, don't remember it specifically. Don't. Yeah. So somebody wrote. Oh, Nick, you wrote this. Also, I found the spine gas extra glow in the dark letters along it. It does.
Oh, whoops. That was meant to be. Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, what does it say? What do these letters say? Do they tell you to do things,
I don't know,
Nick?
actually. To be fair, they're in between the Morkborg letters. If you got it, you can see it along the spine.
Yeah, I've got it with me, but I can't reach the light switch. So we'll leave that. But listeners, that's up to you. If you wanna go and put your stand in the dark with a Morkborg book, that's up to you. But anyway, speaking of that awesome RPG, they're launching a 0% cut license under the banner of Make Your Own Miseries. Meaning, you can make and sell content for Morkborg, and they won't take a cut of it whatsoever. The stipulations are... Oh, and you're back. The stipulations are that you cannot use any of the logos of the publishers, but can use the Morkborg logo. And you can reuse the prophecies of the two-headed basilisk, but none of the other text. And they actually said in the press release for this that you're allowed to pretend that your product is an official one.
Good lads.
I know. It's nice to see. It's nice to see those types of things. Like, how much is it that Savage Worlds and Pinnacle take off you for their products? It's like 40% or something like this.
Oh, I don't know.
I can see. I'm friends with Shane Hensley on Facebook, and I can see why he takes so many holidays to Jamaica. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So next one is Borderlands RPG announced. Is anyone here a fan of Borderlands? Yeah.
Yeah, I played a bit.
Yeah, I played a bit too. So it was very unfunny, but tried very hard to be funny. But anyway, Bunkers and Badasses, a game from within the universe of Borderlands, is being made. And this apparently comes from a quest line in the games from a DLC adventure called Tiny Tina's something or other. But anyway, it's this character called Tiny Tina runs the player through a game of Bunkers and Badasses in Borderlands. And now so they're making that into a real thing. And... basically, many of the elements in the DLC adventure are based on stuff in the actual game world. So the RPG takes place in a fantasyified version of the Borderlands universe, basically. Now, here's what's interesting about this. I know it's not interesting at all yet because it's Borderlands. And let me just give you a choice nugget of humour from the Borderlands universe. So there's one quest where there's a guy called Shooty McFace, and you have to shoot him in the face. Is anyone laughing? Well,
I'm laughing at it, not with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this will probably be shit. But it's funny because the creative team behind this RPG include Kirsty Pitchford, now, who is, I'm assuming, related to proven liar and gaming criminal Randy Pitchford of 2K Games, right? So I wonder how she got that job. And another one is Kathy Brown, who's worked as an editor on magazines, presumably tabletop ones, I hope, anyway, and a guy that has played but never designed an RPG. So... So you've got the boss's wife, somebody who's written a magazine, Hello Magazine, and somebody that's never even been near a designing process. So I think it's going to be fucking brilliant.
I'm actually really looking forward to that. I
Can't wait.
I've saved a lot of money during the pandemic, and that's what I'm going to be spending it on.
So you've got to blow it on Borderlands RPG. Bunkers and Badasses. So that is like a take on Dungeons and Dragons. Then, okay.
Yeah. It's that, and I don't know if you noticed, Nick, but it's very witty. It's a very witty thing to do.
Sharp.
Mind flayers are considered to be too scary. A website called
Scary.
A website called Geek Native recently did a competition to win a tote bag with a picture of a mind flayer on it, and I'm gutted I didn't win that. But to win said bag, participants were asked to vote on a poll as to whether or not they found the brain-sapping monster, the Illithid, or mind flayer, to be appropriate for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, we've seen the designed by committee 90s aesthetic that Wizards of the Coast have been going for recently, so it's no wonder, then, that a significant portion of the D&D players found mind flayers to be too scary for D&D. But I want you guys to guess, Nick and James, what are we saying? What percentage of players found mind flayers too scary for the game?
I'm just shocked there was even a level to be too scary. Well, okay, I don't know. I would like to think 10%.
I'm going to say like 0.5%.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, Nick, you hit the nail on the nail's head. It was 10%.
Oh, really?
10%. I mean, but when you think about it, it doesn't sound like a large number, but that's quite a lot of players that are basically, crying baby wimps.
I'd like to know what else is too scary for their game.
I don't know, snacks, going outside,
What
colour blue.
about like you're just playing and then something like on the fly happens? It's like, no, wait, not in my game, mate.
What do you mean? Yeah, well, I mean...
It's scary. I don't know, you walk around the corner and I don't know, there's something that the person doesn't like.
Well, I imagine the type of player that says that mind flayers are too scary will probably object to quite a lot. It'd be like, you turn a corner and there's your father. He's holding a lovingly baked pie and a set of flowers for you. And then they're like, too scary.
Alright, so...
You made me jump. I wasn't expecting it. So,
Actually, they're just like...
Also, let's think about the original Monster Manual, or even the current one, right? And how many more scary things there are in there. Flesh golems, for example, are really scary.
Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
I don't know. It's just, I think the Mind Flayer, I think to an extent, if you look at the tote bag that was done in this competition as well, they can be adorable. So, although they're not really, are they? They eat your mind. So, but that's it for news, guys.
Mr. Irwin did write in our chat that Savage Worlds and DTRPG take 40% cut between them.
Okay. All right.
Between.
Still takes the piss, though, doesn't it, a bit? I think maybe if it was 10% each, at least then you're getting, like, a decent share of your own product.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a bit of a shit show for licensing. I think it would be like, if you pay for the license for a year, 10% Savage and 30% DTRPG. Fucking hell, DTRPG.
It's them then.
That is it for news, so let's get on to the main... No, let's get on to... No, what you've been slaying.
Yes.
And one of these! Oi, yeah? What you slaying?
A funny jingle, I'm sure you'll agree. Welcome to What You've Been Slaying, where we talk about what we've been playing. Our Fandolin game, Old School Essentials, is still continuing, and essentially we just did an episode or murder mystery episode. But to give you a bit of background, basically there's an apocalypse happening, and the team need to track down the 3 gods that live on the same plane of existence as them, get their 3 items, save the world. And they're just on the item for the sea element. And as they're leaving port on their new boat, which by the way is made of stone, and I'm fully aware that doesn't work, but it's magic, so shut up. So basically, they leave on this boat, and as they get out to sea, there's been a murder on board, and we basically did this whole thing where they were role playing and meeting a bunch of new characters. And then after they met them, they go to bed for the night, and they hear a loud gunshot on board. They go to the captain's room, he's lying dead. And a policeman on board basically says that he wants to. He's like, okay, the sails are going down. We're not going anywhere until this murder is solved. And you're responsible. You're the 4 legendary celebrity heroes of the world. Solve this mystery. And they were like, well, why not you? And he's like, well, I'm not a homicide detective. I'm a beat cop. And I'm on my holiday. So, yeah. Essentially, the guys had to solve a murder on board. And before they could actually get to their destination. But the interesting thing about all of it is when I write up like mystery type adventures, what I do is I just write a timeline of events that kind of happened, and then it's up to the players to piece it together by talking to the right people, finding the clues, things like this. Yeah.
Nice.
It was a bit mad because one of the basically the captain actually faked his own death and was trying to get away from a gang that was stalking him. So he was taking the longest journey he possibly could to another continent, and also faked his own death on board just to make doubly sure. So he mutilated. Yeah, they did. Yeah. They basically mutilated. The captain mutilated this one of the slaves from the decks below and switched bodies with him, and then sort of got into a shipping container in the storeroom, which he was sending a bed to Naywan, basically another continent, and he was just in there happily lying in the bed. And once they figured it all out, they kind of went to the storeroom, opened it up, and he's in there, and he's like, you found me. I'll tell you me dastardly tale. It was very funny.
I'll tell you what, it was really bloody difficult because obviously we were sort of going around and we were making our own assumptions. We were like, maybe it's the cook, because I had an argument about Ham, but he was a simpleton. And I was just like, well, no, it can't be him because he's a simpleton, and bless him, he's...
Yeah, I made sure that, like proper Agatha Christie style, I made sure that pretty much every member on board had a motive for wanting to kill him as well. And, there was one clue that you guys didn't pick up on. You did see it, but you didn't pick up on it, because basically, often when people are shot or when they're killed or whatever, they will soil themselves. But if there's nothing left inside them, of course they won't, right? And they at one point, they investigated the poop deck, and the toilet was all clogged with shit, and the guy who cleans the poop deck was like, that's one of the captain's trademark shits, absolutely gigantic. But the body had soiled itself, so it couldn't have been the captain because he'd taken a shit just before the murder had happened. So it was like I put in loads of little details like that, and there was a point where he tried to throw the murder weapon overboard as well, and it got caught up in a net on the side of the boat and shot through the side of the boat, injuring somebody else as well. So it was like a really weird, like there was a lot of twists and turns to it, but ultimately I think it went kind of well. It got to the point where the guys were literally sitting there confused. They were talking about, well, did a monster come on board and do it and things like this, and I was like
nice.
But we did have I can't remember what it's called, Nick, but in that investigative trope where they have it's like where everyone does like a round table talk at the end, and they're in like a parlour, and there's always somebody standing by a fire with a glass of whiskey.
Oh, well, when the detectives like explaining to everybody how he figured it all out and stuff.
Yeah. And you're sort of pacing around the room and everyone's in there, Yeah, we kind of had a bit like that because, one of the characters, as soon as they sort of figured out the murder, Stanley, one of the characters, he goes, let's go to the parlour. And then, so they went to the parlour and that, well, they didn't, they actually went out on deck, but yeah. It was pretty fucking cool, all told. But yeah, so that was pretty much it. That's what we've been doing. We kind of did the murder mystery episode, and that's pretty much what's happening. Now, they've got one more item. Well, I've actually got 2 more items left to get, because one of their previous characters from the campaign is now an evil sort of Dark Lord, and he's nicked the second item, and he's got it in his base. So next week...
so bloody annoying.
It really... Yeah,
Who's this?
Norman Fiend.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
he's the main bad now, mate.
He's the main bad, and yeah, so he's got this.
Nice.
The country's military have scouted out his lair, and they know where the item is. So next week, the guys have been given control of the army, and they're going to mount a huge attack on his base to try and get it back.
Showdown.
Should be
Decent.
fucking cool. Yeah, I hope it is.
Yeah, mate, that sounds fun.
I hope it is. People are talking about what they've been playing in the chat as well. That's a good idea. That's a good
very
idea.
nice.
Do we have to talk about it?
I don't think we have to, I don't think we have to talk about it.
Yeah, glad I sounded.
But I like that somebody by the name of Malachi has been playing an index card RPG Judge Dredd, which sounds fucking awesome. I love index card RPG. I was nearly said Dark Dread for some reason. Judge Dredd. Nick, you've read through Mork Borg yourself. Do you have any extra thoughts to share on it that weren't in our episode?
I did. No, not thoughts. I did read through it. Yeah, so I treated myself last weekend and read it from front to back and thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, it's a cracker. Not really, probably gone over most of it, but a couple of bits I really enjoyed. I loved the map's cracking. I love the place called Galgenbeck.
Yeah.
The city. There was one particular thing that I absolutely loved. You know, on the backstories where it says like throw a knife at this page to give your party a joint backstory or whatever.
Yeah.
The one that made me really chuckle was at permanent war with all Corvids, no contact without some violence, you carry a sling. And I can just picture like someone in the party walking into every town and all the crows and magpies just going fucking mental at him and attacking him. So that really made me giggle with the Corvid war.
Yeah, because it could be that your character's got a curse and that's why that's happening, or it could quite simply be that you guys have got just a very particular stench about you that they really don't like.
Really don't like it. That gave me a good giggle. The little traits and stuff that you can roll to give your characters a little bit more, little quirks and things like that. I really liked. They make you sick though. Some of them. I mean, you pick your nose so deep it bleeds. It's pretty grim. And the Arcane Catastrophes was an absolute fantastic read. Hilarious. All the things that can go wrong. And I love the where it's got the little bit in pink next to like the main effect, and that's for like the GM, and they don't happen straight away, and it's like some of them are like kind of latent and stuff, and it's it's just a very good read. I really enjoyed it.
Because I guarantee you, when you get the Arcane Catastrophes, I guarantee you, right? Because you've got the bit they know immediately, and then one that comes out gradually that you don't tell them about. Like you might have your head might grow to an enormous size, but you also start pissing skittles. I don't know, but the point is that that if you drop that on them 3 games later, they're gonna think it's something that happened that night that caused the extra effect. Like the glowing or whatever. So that's what I find really funny. You did give an observation, though, that I thought was quite worth talking about. You mentioned that at some parts the font is difficult to read, and I actually agree. It took me some getting used to. Once you've read a couple of pages, it's fine, but it does take some getting used to.
When I opened the first page and was reading the kind of intro-y bit, I was like, oh no, am I going to struggle with this whole thing? And there's a couple of bits we have to look at it a few times. It's probably just me being a div, but no, you definitely get used to it. 3-4 pages in and it's fine. You can figure it out. It's pretty good.
Hang on a minute.
And did anyone else just see that?
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so that's unfortunate. There's a visual element to some of this, but yes, we got quite a few people listening in live to this, and we just seen one of them just share his camera, and he's on a tube. I don't know who that was. But it was weird, and it looked like it was an accident too. So whoever just did that.
It was Pumbaa. Wicked.
Boom, successful.
I put my finger on the what it is that I like the most about the entire product.
Yeah, go on.
The yellow and black.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh, it's vivid. It's beautifully vivid.
It's such a clever move, and it's striking, And it's funny because on a shelf where everything else is trying to be dingy by being grey and brown, and, it stands out, and it manages to be more dingy by having something a bit more striking, and it's something that you look at and go, ugh. Like the cover art,
exactly.
Even you look at it and like. Usually I wouldn't show somebody, a book and be like, look at this cool fantasy art, because you sound like a fucking knob, right? But in this particular case, it is pretty rad, right? The front cover.
This is definitely one of them that you would actually happily go, look at this is great.
Oh no,
Because
definitely.
it is.
I've shown it to my brother-in-law, and when I showed my wife when it got delivered, even she was like, "Wow, yeah, that's cool." Straight away, just one look at the cover and was like, "Yeah, that looks wicked." So
Nice.
yeah,
That's saying
they
something.
mark on this one.
Saying something in it.
So I picked up a couple of things actually. I got I got older, right, and I had a birthday, and my mother very kindly sent me some money to get some things, and I got a couple of products. One of which by Zach S. Sorry, but he did Frostbitten and or Mutilated, right, which I think is a
Whatever you
really.
prefer.
Yeah, exactly. It's and or. Not a lot of people know that. You have to look at it through a black light to see the /or.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically it's kind of a companion book to Vornheim, the complete city kit. And this is kind of a snowy, mountainous setting kit, if that could be such a thing, almost like a barbarian setting kit, for snowy regions.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
Skyrim-esque. I think the name is shitty because I can't remember what the area is called, but it's called like the Cold Lands or something like that, and that would have been a fine title for a book, but instead he called it Frostbitten and Mutilated because James Raggy wants to be extreme all the time. And that's pretty much the only criticism I have. Artwork's amazing, obviously, because he's done it. The writing's really fucking good, and it's got a bunch of tables in there, which is pretty much the best thing about those. Loads of tools, loads of tables. That's what I like about Zach S.'s books.
Yeah.
You know, say what you will about the man. But yeah, it's fucking awesome. One of the things that kind of cracked me up about it was that there's sort of a almost like you know, at the beginning of ICRPG, it's got this thing that's like the oath the GM needs to take. It's got kind of a thing like that in Frostbitten and Mutilated, and it's like, think of the thing you hate the most, really picture it in your mind, really bring it forth, and now feel the rage as you want to smash its face in, and then just put that to one side because you're playing a game with your mates. But remember that when the monsters turn up, right? It's kind of like that, and I just love that. It was just, it's like so funny and awesome. And I also picked up another Lamentations product, which I haven't had the chance to look at yet, but I got Veins of the Earth, if you can believe such a thing.
Hell.
Out of print, very
Big
rare.
boy.
Yeah, very highly sought after. And this is it's basically the Lamentations of the Flame Princess version of the Underdark. So this is like networks and networks of caverns that are just, you know, beneath the Earth's surface, where drow come from, Duragar, Sverv, Neblins. And this is like their darkenized, you know, horrible version of it. I hadn't had a chance to look at it, but it looks fucking cool. And also, what I appreciate is it looks like a book like a normal person would have. So maybe people will look at my bookshelf and not think I'm a loser. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a respectable one you could have on a bookshelf in a study.
Because, you know, I don't give a shit about my family knowing what I do, and that I don't dress up as a wizard. I don't know why I said that. That I pretend to be a wizard in games and stuff, right? But when my landlady comes round and she sees my shit, and I see her giving me some looks, man.
Checking.
Oh no, actually, once she did talk about it because I was busy preparing for a game. I think I had like an hour before it was happening, and I had a few bits to do, so I couldn't stop doing it. She came round, and Millie told her about it, and she was like, "Isn't that just like really sad? Like all of you rolling dice in a basement and being really sad?" And I was like, "Yep,
wow.
Yep. Well, she's not wrong,
Wow.
though. That's the trouble."
Not sad.
Not sad.
No, I think it's awesome, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But I think in the eyes of my landlady, actually, another funny story about her, and we will get onto some RPG chat, but funny thing happened. She came round once, okay, and our downstairs neighbours are Albanian, and they were making a lot of noise, and my landlady kind of went, fucking Eastern Europeans, right? They're fucking lazy, they make too much noise, and I hate them, and all of this. And my wife just went, oh, Harrison's a quarter Polish. And my landlady just went, hard workers though, aren't they? They're really great. Great worth it. It was just like instantly changed, turned on a dime. Oh, it's fucking funny. Well, that's it for what we've been playing, and a story about my landlady. Does anyone want to get onto a main subject?
Shall we?
Yeah, I think it's about time.
Oh yeah, fuck! I forgot the jingle. Usually we just sort of
You
pause for a
Just
second.
waiting.
Shut the fuck up! All of my flubs are going to be cut out of the eventual podcast anyway.
This actually happens every week, doesn't it? You fluff the jingles every single week and cut them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so aggressive. Because of the noise.
I wasn't here for the beginning. Did I miss a bit that said that we're not actually meant to turn our mics off mute and talk to you? Because I'm sorry.
No, if anything, you're encouraged to do it. Everyone is welcome to speak whenever they feel like it.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Great. Someone else call Garrison a cunt for once, then, will they?
Owen, you sound like you're on fucking pirate radio.
Yeah, where are you? You sound like you're inside a cassette tape.
It makes sense. I'm trying to get my daughter to go to sleep by walking around in the park while listening to this and apparently shouting "cunt" quite loudly, because that's good for a 1-year-old.
Yes.
If you're wheeling your baby around in a park in London at night, the only thing you're going to get is kidnapped. So all right. Well, I'm going to play the jingle now. Shut up, everyone. Shut
Main.
up.
Subject. Magic. Main. Subject. Tokyo. Main. Subject.
I mean, why actually do you play the jingle? You're just going to put it in differently in the post anyway, aren't you? So what actually is the point of it?
Owen, they're very angry about me editing the podcast. I only see when we had Owen on as a guest, right? We had him on for the Deadlands episode. Very good episode. Very funny, very witty. But anyway, yes, that was a good episode. But Owen's upset because we cut a lot of the bits where he was expressing his racist views and also saying about how much he hates women.
Yeah, it's true. It's fair.
Christ almighty, Owen, don't turn your microphone on. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, this is the main subject, by the way, just in case anyone's lost track. Whether you're playing a deep, intrigue-heavy campaign or a 3-part monster-slaying adventure, you want your players to feel as if they want to be part of your world, to get immersed into its story and characters, and to feel as if they need to come back week after week to see how their plans and actions are manifesting. And even for one-shots, getting your players to fully buy into the adventure and to be enthralled for the 4 hours of play. Player investment. The act of player or character becoming hooked into the game is one of the most important parts of RPGs. It's what drives the game and keeps the wheels turning. So how do you do it? Well, today we're going to share our tips for getting players invested, hear your tips, talk about what we look for as players, and then touch tips at the end. The things that draw us... We're going to talk about the things that draw us in and make us feel like we're part of the game/game world. Let's start with me, shall we? That's how I like it. Because recently, right, the few campaigns that I've run recently, it's all been about making downtime a big thing, right? So if you want to get the players invested in a world and get them hooked in, I'm talking about literal investments. That's what you need, right? Because in my games, downtime is one of the most important parts to the campaign and to player investment, right? So after the adventure, you kind of discuss what they do with the spoils of their adventure and what they can buy, things like this. And this is really how you make an interesting game world, because now when they go out, they've got something at risk. If the world is ending, right, if you turn up day one and you're like, okay, session 1, the world's ending, you've got to save it. Well, they might just go, well, fuck it, why doesn't somebody more capable do it? If you go, the world is ending, your zoo is going to get smashed, or the pub that you own is going to be destroyed, then suddenly they get a little bit more invested in it. Do you know what I mean? And there's also little plot lines that you can do with their investments. Like, for example, at the moment we've got refugees coming into the characters' zoo and town, and as a result, there's a food shortage which they're trying to kind of get over and trying to sort out. So as a result, I think, giving the characters things to invest their money in, right? How often do you end up in a game where characters have too much money, right? And they go to the shop and they're like, I can just buy everything this person owns, but give them things to buy, such as businesses, investing in stuff, auctions, I don't know, all this types of shit. Shit that they have to tend to and come back to later. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I know, Nick, you kind of did this in your Destiny game as well, where downtime was a big part of it, and it was all about building up, like, sort of coming back to storylines we'd started before at the base. So, yeah, we're saving the world. Yeah, we're stopping all these beasts. But there's also a plot line with, my brother's character's girlfriend going on in the bar.
In the bar, and him working a part-time job on the side.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's exactly that. It means that you can switch it as well. Because I worry a bit sometimes at GM that you don't want to do too much of the same stuff adventuring all the time, because you worry that the players might not tell you, but you worry is it too much of the same. And if you open up the downtime, it you kind of really gives them an opportunity to do what they want to do, and then you can kind of live off that. It's cool. I love downtime.
That's a good point, and it means that when they're coming back to town and wrapping up those things, also as a GM, it's the point where you go, right, okay, the rails are off, and you guys do whatever the fuck you want. And often some of the funniest shit comes out of that too, because look at there was a time recently when my brother's character Stanley, he's married to James's character Dee Dee, and they basically came back from an adventure, and it was Dee Dee's birthday, and so Stanley wanted to surprise her. So he goes, right, I'm setting up a meal, right, in a romantic location. I said, okay, where's that? And he goes, in the woods. And then he okay, roll to see how well you set up this meal. Get him to roll something, and then he fails. Crit fails, I believe. So he goes back. He gets his wife, turns back up at the woods where he set up this meal, and it's been savaged by wolves.
8-hour journey through the woods to get there.
The kids were complaining the whole way there.
Exactly. I mean, you know what kids are like when you're in a car with them. Think about having to make them walk 4 hours through the fucking woods. So, in the end, what happens is that, the picnic got savaged by wolves, obviously, because he left it there. And then they hear a howl, and it's night, and then they have to start running away from wolves. You see, that's a situation that was hilarious at the time, and also came about because you just take the wheels off and let them do their downtime. Yeah. And it also told us a bit more about their relationship. So there's that investment there where the players now feel
our relationship is now like fully like developed, and there's so much about our relationship on the table at the minute. Like literally so much. We have actual marital issues going on in the game at the moment, and it comes up, and it is amazing because obviously we're just role playing it at the table, and then everyone knows about it, and they're trying to chime in and chip in their comments. And there's other people that don't know about it, and they're like, "What's going on with you two?" And then me and Sean, mostly me, because I'm really annoyed at his character at the minute, and I'm being really really angry at him. But it's great. It is actually great.
Well, this is what I'm saying. But the downtime aspect, you've also mostly what you've done in your downtime is invest in things and try to improve your businesses, and so you kind of want to see how those investments pay off. But in addition to that, once you feel like you're up to date with something, then we do these character moments, and it's kind of like either an interlude, a flashback, or some sort of character building. And it's exactly as you said, James. Now your relationship is so detailed that by default, really, you're going to be more invested in your character. You want to see how she goes because you put a lot of effort and a lot of time into making her a character. You're not just out there fighting dungeons and, well, if you fought an entire dungeon, that would be hideous. Fighting monsters. Shit, there's a dungeon coming this way.
Stop him!
Mazes and monsters is a far-out game.
You can tell that a player's invested in their character and in your game world when actually maybe not, but I've got this brilliant story. I think it's brilliant anyway, I wasn't going to be running it, but I've got this brilliant story that I've made with all these grand epic adventures, and all they want to do is stay in the town and make sure that their shit's going well. Do you know what I mean? And I think that but at that point you can kind of tell that they care about their character, they care about all the stuff they're invested in their personal life, and it's important to have the moments of building your characters to make people invested. If you just did faceless dungeon crawl after faceless dungeon crawl, it would become fucking boring, and you need to have something to spend the money on, otherwise it's worthless, literally. And it kind of brings me to my next point. James, you mentioned that you've been playing these characters for a while, and that also is a tip. Investment in the world and in the characters, it also just comes with time. Even if you've got a character you don't like, even if you're basically playing yourself, I usually say about 3 to 6 episodes is when I really start to actually dig a character and know how he ticks 100%, and it also gives you, by that point, it's almost like the introduction is out of the way. This is why I prefer to read longer books, because the introduction, all the world building is out, and then you've just got massive portions of story, and that's kind of the way you should treat your campaign, because what you want to do is get the players into their characters, into the game world, and then just all story, character development, and hopefully by that token, they'll be invested in it. I feel like one of the reasons I continue doing the campaign we're doing at the moment and doing a second arc is literally because I knew that you love those characters so much, and we'd spent 20-something episodes building them up, and then just to leave them behind seemed like such a shame when you'd succeeded and become heroes and become legends. I mean, what's the point in not using that for anything, And so, in a way, it's like payoff for all the good work you did. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you one last tip, right? So so far we've got actually give them stuff to invest their money in, the importance of character building and downtime, and of course we've got just play for a longer time. It helps. I just kind of wanted to talk about show, don't tell. This is, on the surface, this can kind of seem to be a tip more about storytelling than it is about players buying into the world, but kind of what I mean is instead of just saying, put it this way, when characters save the world from a calamity, right, do they really still have to pay for their burgers when they go to McDonald's? You see what I mean? What I'm saying is that you need to have the world react to the characters in actually realistic, meaningful ways, right? These characters that we've got at the moment have saved the world from a pandemic once, right? They're known heroes, they're legendary, and they're said to be the reincarnation of some legendary heroes from 100 years before. So why would the world treat them normally, right? They're at the upper echelons of society now. People go to them for advice. But I hear about campaigns where, for example, I was in the pub the other day and some people were playing D&D, they were playing the Mad Mage, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and I was like, oh cool, what level are you? And they're like, level 7, dungeon level 9, and I was like, okay, cool. And you're still just scrabbling about in the dirt with no hirelings, risking your life for everything. I mean, so this is what I'm saying. So instead of just telling them, oh, you're legends now, and then just running the game as you usually would, say you're legends now, and the world make the world change because of the things they've done, things like this, and they're obviously going to be more invested because they can see the fruits of their labours unfolding before them.
Well, one thing that keeps coming up, I keep noticing, particularly around this, is like every time we arrive back in our town particularly, but a neighbouring town as well, because everyone knows about our exploits and we are like heroes. Every time, like we got off our ship the other day, and Harris is like, "Yep, everyone's clapping you and they're giving you a hero's welcome," and she's always embedding the fact that we currently, at least, are very admired by citizens and populations and that. So we are obviously way more heavily invested in the game rather than, if we just arrive and then, in our minds, if it's not explained to us, it could just be dead silence, no one's there, no one gives a shit. But the fact that we've been told we get a hero's welcome, it's just like everyone's there to watch us arrive because they know we've been on the voyage for one reason or another. And it just makes us feel more connected to the towns, the cities, the people, and the world and stuff.
And also, this has a fun knock-on effect, right? Because GMs who don't like their players becoming murder hobos, if they're famous, they're probably not going to just murder anyone in the street in cold blood. Do you know what I mean? Because people know who they are. It was funny though the other day. They got recognised when they're on board their ship. They had a number of passengers on there. One of them was a policeman called Wilkins who spoke like this. There's been a murder on board. And it was very funny. But yeah, basically he recognised Stanley first. And Stanley's like this character that's, he's a bit of a failure. He's a knight who reports directly to the king. But he's a guy that is a knight directly to the king, but that could still fuck up trying to put food in his mouth or falls down the stairs. He's like a bumbling idiot. Anyway, fucking... this policeman recognises him. He's like, oh my God, Stanley, can I have your autograph? And he's like, a little tear comes to Stanley's eyes. He's getting a pen out. He's about to sign one of his posters. And then the guy notices somebody else on the team, somebody he likes a bit more. And he's like, oh my God, Grant. And just as Stanley's about to sign the poster, this guy just legs it and starts getting somebody else to sign it.
Oh yeah, it was actually me. It was Dee Dee. So that was even more of a sting.
It was his wife. Yeah. But that's pretty much it for my tips, I think. think the only changing the game world, it goes hand in hand with make the players' actions have consequences. If they do clear, even so far as if they clear out the dungeon of goblins when they're level 1, the neighbouring village might give them a free meal and a bunch of food for the night. Or somebody might say, whenever you come back to this town, you're always welcome in my house. Or whatever. Just something. Just fucking something, man. I don't know if you've noticed as well, James, but every time you go back to a new city, or back to a city, I should say, I make the game world change a little bit. Something's always different, keeping them engaged. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my tips. So yeah, we're talking
on the flip side, though. If the party go into a shop and they're all a dick to the guy in the shop who's just trying to make a living, next time they go back to the shop, they might not get such nice prices.
It's weird, actually, though, Nick, because I've had situations like that where I've had the consequences for players acting like dicks, right? The guy's not going to serve them. The guy doesn't want to sell them items. This, that, and the other, right? And sometimes when the players are so bad or are such murder hobos and such assholes that nobody's willing to do business with them, what have you got left? At some point, you know what I mean? Because I was thinking, one of my least favourite campaigns that I run, I still had a lot of fun with it, but my Lamentations of the Flame Princess campaign, where I had basically one very disruptive player in the group who made... It's like the guys were friendly with local law enforcement. They were friendly with local leaders and all of this. And they had so much stuff in their pocket. And one player just fucked it all up to the point where nobody would end up serving them and everyone became evil. But I don't think that was really your guys' plan. And actually, no. I think this actually helped for player investment as well in the end. Because I now have a rule in every game that I do where it's, in particular with the game we're playing at the moment, Phandalin, the main town, that is the game. The game is about that town and it's about their character's place in it. So if you do stupid shit and get arrested, you're out of the game. End of story.
Got ya. No, yeah, well, there you go.
Because in the end, in the Lamentations campaign, I feel like players actually had I did consequences for all their actions, and because the players acted like players, it ended up where there was nothing left for them to do. Nobody wanted them. They even went to the worst town in the whole fucking place, a town called Bogtown, and that was the only place that accepted them.
We loved Bogtown.
I know you did. Oh, players,
we absolutely love Bogtown.
But yeah, I think consequences and a changing world, but make sure to put the good ones in there too,
Yeah, totally.
But Nick, anyway, I've talked for too long. Share your tips, my boy.
Okay, so yeah, first tip I've got is always bring your A game. So, if you can get together with your mates for 4 hours a week or however, whenever you meet up, always try and do your best there because it's worth it and you get a lot out of it. And I think if you can make them enough effort to all get together, then it's pointless just, not giving it your best when you get there. So, yeah, that would be my first one. I would always say, every game always have a good game. What else? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. I mean, if you turn up and you're just sort of like, so if you as a GM, personally, it's fucking obvious, and it would always be obvious. If you're running a game and you are dejected and disheartened, and you're just like, you literally like you can hear it. You can hear it. And
you can hear it, and like it or lump it, it will come out in your game if you're bringing a bad attitude to it. I saw a great essay about this in the fantastic book. What is it called? How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck. Genius Michael Curtis, I believe, that said it, and he said, bring your A game, because he once had a plot twist that he was waiting for 7 games to show to his players, and then the game fell apart and they never found out the awesome plot twist, and instead they were playing shitty episodes leading up to that. So very good, very, very good fucking point. Yep, always do your best. Don't bring a shitty game because you're waiting to reveal the good thing. Just reveal the good thing now.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, just have a great game.
I think we're fortunate, sorry to butt in again, but I think we're fortunate that the A game, in my opinion, is always brought. Like, if you're the DM,
speak for yourself.
At the head of the table.
No, mate. No, definitely. I mean, we'll fly through a few. So yeah, the other one is believe in your characters and the world. Obviously, goes with bringing your A game, I guess. Be a party member. get to know your allies, forge relationships. You're in a band, you're not a collection of solo singers. So it's always good to get a good party dynamic. It's not always about your character in particular. Sometimes it's, I don't know, some of the best role playing games that I've ever played is when I've had a really good relationship with another player at the table, with on top of the relationship in the party.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You and James played ex-lovers once, didn't you?
Oh, mate, we've done it all, yeah.
Of course we bloody were. That chemistry was on fire. I'll tell you what's really weird, because having player characters have an intimate relationship, because that's what it was. They were ex-lovers and stuff. And me and Sean's character, our current husband and wife and stuff. It's weird how much that plays into the game, because I think it's just such a crazy, easy kind of thing for us to sort of just really bounce off and continue it for a lot of time.
Well, I think and if you do have a connection with another character, chances are one side's not going to let the other down. You're going to kind of pick each other up and give each other little reasons to roleplay. And it will end up with your players being more invested. But I guess that's a tip more for players. If you want to fucking be invested, you do have to put some effort in. You do have to buy into it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And then you'll reap the rewards. So, what else have we got here? So definitely a good one is remember things. So just make small notes. Doesn't matter if they're tiny. Just write some stuff down, because as a player, it's really, really helpful. At least if someone is, because you're often getting to a position where if you'd remembered the one note that you had this item or whatever, we've had it before when we've forgotten, when we've picked up really cool stuff and forgot we even had it. And just try and make some notes if you're playing as a player, definitely. And also as a GM, that goes for GMs as well, when things do happen in the world.
Yeah, totally. I'm fucking terrible for making notes during a game, man, because the one time I tried it, I couldn't read my handwriting because I was trying to write so fast. And the thing is the other day, for example, they'd gone into the king's palace and they didn't know where their friend, the sea hag, had gone, and she'd sort of melded into this jug of water because she didn't want to get seen by the king. But then I remembered that she got taken, I was reminded that she got taken there before as a party guest, so the king likes her, so I obviously forgot. Yeah.
I've got what else we got here then? So I put get the balance, get a nice balance between personal development and party and story development. So getting like the earlier point, really, just it's nice to develop as a party, but also develop as yourself.
Yeah.
And GMs ask the players questions about their characters and their life. Get stuff from them. Put them on the spot. Ask them a random question about what they like or what their character does. I know in their spare time or whatever, and it'll give you ideas as well and give you cool stuff to then put in the game. Just as the players will enjoy the world that you help make with them. So
I guess as well they'll get more into it because you're taking an interest in their character. If all you care about is your story and you're not taking an interest in the character and making that the spotlight, then it can be a bit shitty. I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand with interludes, sometimes when the characters are all sitting around that fire, ask one of them who wants to tell a story. Although it sometimes backfires, but we a lot of times, our players have come out of gold. They've talked about stuff that's happened in their past, goals they might have, things like this. And there's plenty of tools out there to help you to do that as well. Story cubes, for example, Richard Woolcock's card decks you can get from DTRPG that all have symbols on them. Loads and loads of different resources out there to help you do that. But yeah,
boy.
Yeah, definitely. And then just the last one is just as GMs encourage player-to-player engagement. So it's always a good thing when the parties start getting into their own little world and you can just sit there for 10 minutes watching them.
Yeah. I mean, but then sometimes it breaks down and people start having sex with each other, and that's not what you want.
Oh yeah, when it gets beyond the point of no return.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we covered it already, but it's the idea of just getting players to have interpersonal relationships. Because then suddenly, at the moment, I'd say the main storyline is about saving the world in our game that we're playing at the moment. The sub-storyline is that Stanley and Dee Dee, two of the characters, might be having a divorce because Dee Dee's found out about Stanley's mistress, Shaniqua.
Yeah. Well, at least, okay, so the way that, it's very complicated, but as the characters, yes, that is her thought.
Yeah, pretty much. But let's not get into that.
No, we won't.
So we've already shared, a couple of player tips here, but what do we like to see as players when it comes to investigating into a world, invested into a world? I would say, as a player, right? I've played in games where the GM had a story to tell, and it was something that they were super interested in, right?
Yeah, I think I was there for that one.
Yeah. Wait, which one are you talking about?
I can't say, can I? Because we're live on air, so I'd rather keep it stum.
Just okay, never mind. Right, so, but yeah, make the game interesting for your players, not you, right? Many has the time been where I've wanted to run a deadly serious campaign, right? But I've just got to understand my audience for my weekly game are a bunch of fucking idiots. So the point is I know shit's going to get funny at some point, and I know stupid situations are going to come up because of their silly actions, and I know they're going to joke around a little bit. But the good thing is that we get that out of the way, and then we get serious when we need to be serious, okay? So, if it were all up to me, and certain campaigns, i.e. Solomon Kane, it would have been serious the whole time. But it's not about me. It's about the players. You're running it for them. So, yeah, make it interesting for them. James, you got one here.
Yeah. So I've got quite a few ones, and I know we touched upon it, but this is sort of a little bit extra. Intertwining stories between player characters and non-player characters. I think that's a really awesome thing to do, because then you become invested with that character, and therefore, the envelope is opened and you're invested in more of it. But obviously, don't make sure it's not too many NPC versus NPC characters. Otherwise, it'll just be the DM talking to themselves.
So it's like that meme. Have you seen it? When it's like it says something like, "When two of my NPCs start talking to each other," and it's that image of two Spider-Men pointing at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It's good. I mean, I see Mr. Irwin's typing, but his level of investment that we had with his character in our DCC actual play.
Yeah, actually,
Brilliant.
The thing is that you can never predict the NPCs that the players are going to get interested in. And you're right, it is fucking important to any game world, and to get invested, it's really fucking important for the players to like some of the NPCs, or the NPCs to be interesting enough that they want to see what happens to them. They'll go back to town and go and see what they're up to, right? And you can never predict which one it's going to be. The only reason I put that Daniel Irwin character into Ravenloft was because when you guys arrived at Ravenloft, I wanted you to get attacked by skeletons, and the last one you killed was going to complain that you knocked his body off, because I thought the idea of knocking someone's body off was funny. That's the whole reason that was in there, right? Yeah. But the characters took a liking to him and took him along with them, and you can never predict that shit. It could be some random shopkeeper. So I think, as an addendum to what you're saying, James, don't try to force your NPCs that you like in there. Just keep it to, like, if your players fall in love with an NPC and it's not one that you particularly planned, just fucking run with it, man. It can be fun. We had a talking skull on a stick go all the way through Ravenloft with them.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Yeah, because the actual reason, obviously, Dan was part of it, because he was a patron of ours, and then that was the reason his name was in there. But then us as flipping characters, just like, well, I'll just put you on the other stick, and he was a fortunate sponsor, right?
But Nick is one of those types that will get attached to weird things, though, as a player. Because we haven't talked about you as a player that much, but you get attached to weird things. I remember I was running an adventure called Bastion of the Boglings once, and Nick was so excited. He was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see them. I'm going to get a Boglin, just a little one. I want it as a pet." And it's like little things like that. And it's like the idea of having a talking skull on a stick. I think it was so appealing to you that you just had to have it. But Dan Irwin, he's just put in the chat here, he says, "It's amazing how many players I've run across that have no interest in making a backstory for their character."
But what's the fucking point? So what? Cause, all right, okay, so they're just this person with absolutely, they're not interesting. They're just a fucking nobody, a machine.
It's just a stat sheet. Yeah. But I've played in games like that, man, and it was what initially sort of like made me not really like D&D, but the trouble was I was playing with the people with an average age of about 11, so that didn't help.
As a player, I love to see a difference of pace. Now, the most recent set of campaigns have done this, and by difference of pace, I mean, right, parts of a session or entire sessions, dungeon crawl, combat, downtime, travel time, puzzle, riddle, maze, flashbacks, dialogue, dungeon crawl, combat, downtime, travel time, puzzle, riddle, maze, flashbacks, dialogue, flashbacks. The more diverse the game sessions are, the more invested I become. Fact.
Yeah, well, spot on. I mean, this is the trouble. This is why I think a lot of D&D games break apart, because people think that D&D is just combat, or it's just dungeon crawling. And it does so much.
Courtroom drama, why not?
Yeah, we did a courtroom drama. We've just had a murder mystery. We've had a race. We've had a bloody something else.
It's just fucking madness, though, isn't it? I mean, we had a good half a session, and that's 2 full hours of downtime. And it's sometimes the most exciting thing that's happening. And
Totally.
It's just like, Jesus.
I will say this, though. If you run... Because I don't tend to do... I tend to have an overarching plot, but kind of have episodic. So each week that we play, each session is its own self-contained episode, as it were, right? Mm-hmm. And trust me, if you're trying to create difference of pace and a different adventure every time, we're reaching 24 episodes of the current campaign, and it's getting bloody hard to come up with new ideas. Got to tell you, boys. But never mind.
Can you smell Mork Borg on the horizon?
I can see, yeah. And the funny thing is, Mork Borg is out about the world ending, so what I'm thinking of doing is just sort of one day when I get a little bit bored of it, I'm just like, nope, run out of ideas. Hey, the world's end. Did. Somebody threw a magic item down the stairs, and now you're all dead.
Right? Yeah, they all dead.
I think that's probably about it for player investment. If there's anybody that would like to jump in here, we got somebody in the chat who's Yorkus Rex, who says not every player gets invested, and your players will never be as invested in your world as you are. This gets worse when you get older and take on more adult responsibilities. The way he's written adult in quotes there makes me think it's like adult responsibilities. He's like, I'm too busy sleeping with women, okay, so leave it out. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay, that's why I don't think in some ways subtlety really can be conveyed well in an RPG, because they're little details. Look, the characters are just there to have fun and be interested in the world on kind of on maybe a surface level, or maybe a little bit deeper than that. They don't care about every tiny intricate detail about your fucking world. So just make it enjoyable, man. And like, yeah, I do find it funny when there's you have a GM that is just, they think their world or their story is so fucking interesting. You've got to do these techniques that we've been mentioning to get players invested, because you are the most interested in your world, and you have to. It takes work to get your players interested in it. I'm sorry to say, but that's just true. Ace, he says, I like games like Dungeon World for that entire reason. Lots of character, player-created world. So, yeah, he's absolutely right. And I would like to play Dungeon World, but I would think I would miss the D20 too much. But I do have another Powered by the Apocalypse game. I've got Monster of the Week, which looks fucking awesome. And I've played Dungeon World once, and it was really fun. It makes it like much more feel like the good parts about a book rather than the shit parts about a video game. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yorkus Rex says Monster of the Week is fucking awesome. We do need to play this, you know.
I said that.
Who? Oh, Ace. Sorry. Yeah, you've been watching X-Files recently, Nick, and this is, Monster of the Week has got a lot in common with that, and Buffy as well, which is shit, but I mean, it would make a good game. But that's pretty much it.
I think back in the day.
We were going to fucking do some common mistakes and kind of point those out, but I think what we'll do is we'll kind of leave the segment there. We've given all of our tips. It's all, and if we could summarise this in one sentence, it would be as follows. Nick.
Thanks for the spot, mate. All right, okay. You're there for 4 hours. Make it worth it and get involved.
Yep, that's true. All right, so, and if you could give one message to all the people of the world who are listening now, what would it be?
You're doing all right. Don't worry.
Beautiful.
Go fuck yourself.
Invigorating.
Was that to Shogun? Was that to us? He just comes in and says, "Go fuck yourself." Was it to me or was it to the people?
The people of the world. Fuck them.
Fuck.
The people of the world.
Fuck them.
I can see that you've had a tough life, Shogun, and we love you. All right, anyway, let's go on to the next segment. Oh, no, I haven't got the jingle ready again.
Oh, well done.
Shut up, you fucking fat oafs. I'm trying my hardest here. I'm sorry that I can't do it. It's my hard drive takes so long to wear up, guys.
2-inch hardest.
In the future, you will be able to send a letter or parcel from anywhere on the planet. This, sir, is the electro letter.
Well, on this very special live episode of Electro Letters, what we're going to kind of do is we are going to talk about the weirdest players we've ever played with. Me, James, and Nick will add ours in, but if anyone wants to jump in now and tell us about just any weirdos that you've played with. Shogun, you've got one. Go for it.
Go on.
I just met me. You playing with me at Dragon Meat.
To be fair, yeah, playing with Shogun at Dragon Meat was a fucking experience. Because, A, we got to meet a listener and a fan, and he asked us to sign things. He was nearly crying. And in addition to that, he brought some whiskey to the table. And you know when you're GMing and you're really into the game and everyone's having a laugh and you kind of lose track of how much you're drinking? Well, that happened. I was a fucking mess. It was so embarrassing, right? Because I think I was talking to your girlfriend, Shogun, and I was saying something, and I'd said a joke or something, and then someone completely different came up to me, and I got them confused, and I just went, yeah, that was pretty funny what I said earlier, right? Or something like this. It wasn't even her. It was someone else. So that was cool. Ace, you said you've got one. Go.
Yeah, I commented on the Beast episode about this girl, Ella, that... probably shouldn't use her name. Anyway, this random girl.
This girl who's called...
this girl called Mela, there we go, who was in my uni RP group, and yeah, she bought in, when the Beast was released, she bought in the diary and wanted to read it out to all of us. But that wasn't the only weird thing she did. You know that really bad, like, stereotype of nerds where when there's like a mixed gender group, there's that creepy guy that always goes there with like the sex or the kind of trying to perv on the female character. Yep. She was the girl version of that, and it made it somehow more creepy because the rest of the table was guys. So it was like one girl doing the creepy guy thing with four people at the table, and it's like, oh, just no, please. And yeah, she was like the only. No, there were two girls, but she was the only one I remember from our university gaming group, like sort of D&D and RPG society. But it was gaming with her. It was always like, pick a system that she doesn't want to play.
That's fucking awesome. But she's like, her only stipulation, she's like, so what do you think of this game? She's like, can you suck a dude's dick in it? And you're like, well, it's not really the point of the game, but I suppose yes, you could. We're playing it then. Give me that.
She would have loved Fatal, I tell you.
Bring it.
No. Get rid.
Fucking the idea of bringing in your Beast diary and reading it out to people. What the fuck?
And we were like, no, you can't do it, because the week before she told us all about it, and we're like, no, that's a single player game. Play it by yourself. Like, we don't want to hear your diary.
Yeah, it's kind of like going into uni and being like, I had a really great wank the other day. Can I tell you all about it? Well, no.
About it on a day-to-day rundown.
At least buy me a drink first.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan Irwin says, the Alki was my weirdest one. Who was this? Is he talking about me? He better not be talking about me. I was very drunk.
No, this was years and years ago. I was about 15 at the time, and we were part of a group that used to meet on a Sunday afternoon in a community centre and play for about 4 hours. And I was running a game for these guys. They're all like in their 30s when I was like 15. But there was this one guy. No one else was drinking any alcohol. Except this one guy that was in our group that used to just sit there with 4 cans of Tennants at the end of the table, and he would just sit there and just get caned. And no one else in the entire place was getting caned, and he'd just sit there just making kind of funny noises and leering at people. He didn't really take part particularly. I think he was just a tramp off the street.
That was just an excuse to get out of the house. Yeah, love. I'm in a role-playing game. Great.
I'll role-play for you for a cup of tea.
Where was this, and you sure it wasn't me?
It was in Penge.
Ace makes a very good comment here and says that Tenants of all things, because it is only drunks that drink Tenants.
I think he might have been a sad homeless guy who just needed to be warm for 4 or 5 hours.
Well, Dan gave him a good service.
So Dan, was he a good
hero? Dan,
he did all right out of himself then.
I was going to say.
He got 4 hours of free role playing out of you, the scum. So was he a good role player though, Dan?
No, he's fucking horrible. he didn't really know what he was doing. He would just kind of wander in and just randomly hit things and shoot at stuff. And he didn't really seem to understand that there were other players at the table, so he just hit them if they got in his way whenever he was doing stuff.
I've got to be honest with you. For a minute,
one, especially towards the end of the session after he'd had his 4 cans.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
For a minute there, I kind of, it took me a while for my brain to catch up because he just sort of come in and hit things. I thought you meant in real life just for a second there, because I was like, he comes in with 4 cans of lager and he's like, get out the fucking way, and he just punches somebody and he's like, let's kill some fucking goblins. Yeah. Actually, Dan, one of the stories kind of I wanted to tell was there was a guy at our table that did a similar thing. See, if we kind of expect a level of commitment from our players in our group and that they come to every session, right? But and so we had this guy who would turn up week after week, and he would get so stoned that by about 9 p.m, so that's like 2 hours into the game, he just wasn't able to talk. His lazy eye went crazy and he looked like he was dead, right? And one time I just said to him, I just went, why do you have to get really stoned? And he went, because I like getting really stoned. That was his response. So, yeah, we eventually had to kick him out. But, yeah, it was really, I don't know why people do it, especially if you're the only one as well. That is weird.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You're just getting hammered and everyone else around you is just looking for a good time. By the end of it, you can't understand what the GM is saying. Yeah.
Oh, it's worse when the GM does it, though. You ever had a GM who just gets shit-faced and it's like, they don't remember what happened next session?
Yes, happens all the time.
Well, I have actually started to drink less at games because I was kind of like aware that by the end of the evening, I sort of, it's not that I didn't remember, but it's just like I was getting munted because I wasn't keeping track of how much I was drinking. I was concentrating on the game, shouting and gesticulating.
They go down quick though, don't they? As well, when you're GMing, they do go down quick.
Because you're taking regular sips at it to sort of lube your mouth up as you're shouting at people for 4 hours, you know. Yeah. And yeah, it does go down. It does go down too quick, and often it'll get to like the end of the night, and yeah, I've had my 4 tenants. I've punched someone in the face.
Yeah, you punched someone.
Amateurs, man, amateurs.
Shogun, you're 7 feet tall. Drink doesn't affect you in the same way it does other people.
That may be true.
Yeah.
So,
Yorkus Rex, you had a player that was over-invested in your game. Over-invested. Tell us about that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is pretty terrible. This is in the 90s. We were playing World of Darkness, Vampire to be specific.
Ooh. Nice.
Made the huge mistake of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you guys played yourselves as recently turned vampires?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. No one should do it, ever. But this guy, he was really into the game, really into the lore. But it got to where the Friday night game started spilling out, and this guy's like, he would call you in the middle of the week and be like, so what's my character doing? I'm like, well, I don't know, man. What is your character doing? He says, I don't know. I think maybe I want him to go to the mall and maybe meet some chicks. I said, why don't you go to the mall and meet some chicks? and it was just constantly message after message. It got to where I would avoid his calls because I'm like, oh my God, he's going to call and talk about the game. I don't want to talk about the game. But that was one of the few times where I had a player who was just overly invested.
Too much, yeah.
That is a danger. I know somebody actually. No, they've left the call, so that'll help you narrow it down. But I know somebody who got so invested into a game, and it was Vampire as well. I don't know why Vampire does this to people. Sorry, I was sitting away from my mic there. But yeah, I don't know why Vampire does this to people. But this guy also got so involved in the game, he was thinking about it as he was driving down a motorway and nearly crashed his car. So, yeah. Yes, that's correct, Shogun. He figured out who it was. So with this guy got over-invested, what happened with him in the end? Did you continue playing the game?
We played as long as we could, and it got to where more and more players were dropping out. I was afraid it was going to switch over to a one-on-one game, and that sounded completely unbearable. So I said, "Hey, my studies have changed. I've got to get some stuff done. These classes are getting harder. I'm going to have to put the game on hiatus, and by that I mean forever."
He's still on it now.
Yeah.
He still gets I bet you still get the occasional email from him. He's like, look, it's been 4 years. We've had no updates, man. What's my character doing right now? Did he succeed with those chicks in the mall?
Oh, he absolutely brings the game up anytime I run into him, and I'm just like, yeah, we'll eventually get back to gaming. By the way, this was 1993.
Oh my dude, come on, he's still waiting.
He's still thinking about it. He still hasn't set foot in a mall in real life to this day.
I've got good weird.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Go on.
You guys will all know, but it's got to be the chicken nugget crown.
Yeah. Phil, and I know this is terrible. I know what I'm about to say is terrible. Bear in mind, this is a story he told me. Phil is extremely... he's a lovely bloke, and he's a guy that often games with us. But he's half Indian and looks like Daniel Radcliffe. So his nickname in school that everyone calls him was Curry Potter.
Oh dear. But yeah, he's a lovely guy. But he was like, "What do you want for snacks?" And I was like, "Oh, I love chicken. Well, chicken nuggets are pretty good." And he must have got like a 50-pack and arranged them in such a beautiful display. But
actually, gaming at his house. Actually, he wasn't called Phil. I better say this now. He wasn't called Phil. Actually, he was called something else. But when I was gaming at Phil's house, it was really weird because when we gamed there once, and this is kind of a weird situation more than a weird player, but we kind of said, he goes, right, guys, come round mine. I'll run a one-shot. We'll play together, this, that, and the other. My parents are going to be out. He's a fair bit younger than us. And so his mum was out insofar as she was out of the room. And by that, I mean in an adjacent room where we could see her legs by the door as she was sitting there listening to the game while we played. And he said something and he started doing a Welsh accent because his character was Welsh. And we just heard her go from the other room. We're like, I hate this. This is so awkward.
I was on edge. Yeah, it was.
And the first time I met his dad as well, he tried to come on to me in a game, which was fucking weird.
In character, right?
Yeah, and I'd only known him for 5 minutes. And the way Phil's kind of sold the game to me, he said, yeah, we just play for shits and giggles. We don't take it seriously at all. So I made an orc who wore sunglasses called Punch Face Jones. And then his character, like, as soon as she saw me, right, I turn up to this town, I see these guys, we're going to start doing some shit together. He sees me and he clocks eyes and he's just like, ooh, I'd love to see what's under that loincloth, Punch Face. And it was just like, mate, I've known you for 30 seconds and you're twice my age. Cut it out.
Mate.
Yeah, but as Nick was talking about the chicken nuggets, if you remember correctly, it was at my house.
This is about to be the second time that you've complained about how much of your sauce he used for the chicken nuggets 5 years ago.
It wasn't that because he did use an awful lot, but it was that he was sort of just like, oh yeah, I'm just doing the snacks. It's like, yeah, right, okay, use my oven or whatever. I don't care about that. But then I was just like, all right, cool. Well, don't worry, I'll sort it out. And he gets like these fucking plates, and then the arrangement of the nuggets, mate. He spent a good 10 minutes in the kitchen. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? And then he comes out and he's arranged the nuggets in like a pyramid bloody like thing. It's just like, what has happened?
No, you wouldn't want that in Corona times. Been touching my nuggets.
No, it's different. It was a different world back then. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a beautiful world it was. But James, have you got any other weirdos that you've played with? And if you say me, I'm going to slap you silly.
Yeah, but you can't because I'm not there. So you. No,
I'll get you. I will get you.
There was a lovely person who arrived at a place that I was at with Harrison. I'm trying to make it unknown, but I'm sure we've spoken about it before. But anyway, they turned up to a table, and this is a subscription-based game because it was some type of convention. And they just arrived and sort of sat down and just like, yeah, weren't expecting you. Like, what's this guy doing? And then it was just very, very dry and a bit awkward. Sort of like, sort of sit there and then it'd sort of be quite silent but very interested. And for all intents and purposes, a very, very good role player and really remembered what had happened. So they were a really good source of...
Well, this was an example of another good weird because... before the game, me and James were looking at each other like, oh my God, what have we got ourselves into? Because the guy was, it was just a stream of consciousness. He wouldn't stop talking. And he sat down at a table and he just goes, hey guys, can I play? I've just been up there.
Nothing though, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was just like, I've just been up there. I got given some free stickers. I love stickers. You like pot stickers? I like dumplings too. You ever eat Chinese food? I love Chinese food. Just weird shit. And he just wouldn't stop. And we were trying to talk to him and he wouldn't stop. Then the game started and he shut up. And he was a fucking great role player. And he pretty much carried the team as well. He's a good player too. But it's just, he was so. And then as soon as the game ended, it was like back on. He was like, hey, I rode on a motorbike once. Do you like motorbikes? I used to have a motorbike, but I don't anymore. Also, I've been to France. You been to France? It was just like, oh man, it was super weird.
There's also there was jokes that had happened, and he'd kind of process it, stare at you like through your soul, and then laugh. And it was just like, what? It
was like he was checking it was okay. But yeah, fucking, I've got one more, and this is just to gross out the listeners here, but I run a convention. Well, we run a convention each year, Savage Con, and this year it was online, and thankfully, because the previous year, we noticed that one of the GMs was picking scabs off his head and eating them.
Oh, mate, actually, it's terrible, because I remember I pointed this out. I was the one who pointed this out, and I went, guys, please, I haven't had that much to drink, but I'm not going mental, am I? I've just seen this. Can you confirm it? And then I was like, I'm never not going to see it ever again. And it's like, James, why the fuck did you tell me? Like, they're now like forever gross.
I've got to be honest, I was genuinely, not annoyed at you, but I was annoyed that now I can't unsee it, because the whole time we was fucking running, I was going to say Rippers. He was running Rippers. Anyway, well, that sort of identifies him. I'll bleep that. Right, anyway, point is that, I just couldn't stop seeing him just doing it. He looked like a little lizard. You know where the tongue comes out and it goes, nip, like that. And it's like, it gets the thing. He would like pick his head a little bit and then just go, and sort of lick it out of his fingers. Yeah. Yorkus Rex says, did Scabhead use too much of your sauce? I don't know what he means by that, but I like it.
No.
I don't know.
I need some barbecue with this head scab. Yeah, he also went outside and prayed in Latin as well, which I don't know if that's weird, but it's certainly something worth remarking on.
No. He sat at the table.
Oh,
he sat at the table with his fucking Sainsbury's meal deal.
Yes, boy. All right. So, has anyone in the chat got any more stories about weirdos they'd like to share? Because I know we've met a lot in this hobby. Your silence says it all, dear listeners. Well, shall we do an outro in that case?
Ooh.
All right. Give me a second. I just need to load up the jingle again. Yeah. Well, actually, we don't need a jingle for an outro, do we? But I usually like to insert some sort of funny clip.
Well, the Penguins have made it, and they're going up against the Golden Knight.
Flippity flappity.
There we go. That'll do. All right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who came in and everyone that contributed. Sorry if this one's been a bit of a mess, but what the fuck do you expect? It's episode 69. This time I don't reckon we'll plug anything here, but we kind of taken the episode 69 to be our sort of celebration episode, because it's going to be fucking ages till we get to 100. So we thought this is a funny number. Okay, so there's that. Anyway. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you liked this, don't forget to donate on Patreon and make it a lot of money, please, because no more fucking around, alright? Because I'm sick of your shit. Alright, you freeloading fucks. That's it. I've been Harrison Hunt.
I've been Nick Lambslice.
I've been James Clark.
Oh, mate.
And remember that D20s are cool, but 20Ds. Now that's a good time.